Welcome to the Lost Lowdown with Claude and Justin.
What's up, guys?
We are talking about Locke.
We talk
And
about Locke sometimes on the Last
yeah,
Lowdown.
we do. He comes up every now and then. But I had this random conceit. I wanted to flesh out this idea that Locke is the ultimate villain on the show. For reasons we'll get into.
All right. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's do it. Yeah, so just thinking about what we were talking about with Locke on the previous podcast, and how his character arc is so bad, just in terms of not actually overcoming anything,
hmm
and not having a real character arc, and just causing havoc for everyone he meets, until the bitter end, and then he gets such a horrible death, and it's just like why, and it dawned on me that like if you think about it, Locke is the biggest villain on the show because he starts with the main group, right? So he's causing trouble from the beginning,
hmm
and then all of the major events on the show, I believe, with some exceptions, of course, Locke is responsible for.
hmm
So especially in the beginning, right? So you got obviously Locke finding the hatch and not telling people,
Right.
getting Boone killed. So those are
Right.
huge things right there.
Yeah.
Then season two, you've got Locke and Echo in the hatch, and that leading to the hatch imploding.
hmm
So that's a huge thing. Season
Definitely.
three, you got him blowing up the submarine.
Yeah.
So like already once each season, he's doing something catastrophic that affects every single other person.
That's
Right?
true.
That like Ben's not even trying to do.
Right.
That Smokey's not even trying to do.
hmm
And in Black that's not even dealing with what these characters are doing with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. 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 He's got his
So
own problems.
so he's already causing havoc, irreparable damage to these
hmm
people. He kills Naomi later.
Right.
Like every like
Right.
he's just he's unstoppable in his havoc causing.
Yeah.
And so all that stuff with the fact that he from the pilot he's around. And I feel like the way I want to describe it is he's like Kaiser Sose. He's like the guy who's causing all the problems, but he's verbal Kent, and it's like if verbal Kent doesn't know he's Kaiser Sose.
Right.
So Locke is a supervillain who doesn't know he's a supervillain, which is like even worse somehow.
Right.
It's almost like Don Quixote,
Yeah.
but like he's killing people.
The evil.
Like the
Yeah.
evil version where oops, did I destroy that?
Right. Right.
He's just this. He comes across as inept, but he's really super powerful.
I just thought it was a windmill. Like, what's the big
Yeah.
deal?
Oh, I burned the whole village down? Oh, I was trying to save you from the dragon. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I don't know
Yeah.
what you think about that, but it dawned on me that like if you really want to paint out who the villains of the show are, at least antagonists, in terms of what the word antagonist means, like who causes the most change for your
hmm
protagonist, like it's Locke.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And I guess like a part of my not liking some of the things his character does like comes down to him playing that role, but me not wanting to view him that way.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe that's, for the audience in general, like kind of a conflict with him where it's like he's portrayed for the most part as a good guy.
hmm
I think season 3 is maybe the exception to that, where he really does seem to be going rogue in season 3.
Yeah.
To the extent that I kind of feel like the audience is naturally like, okay, he's a little like crazy right now.
Yeah.
But I think we're supposed to be back on board with him, because like in a sense he's right about the freighter.
hmm
Um, and he's invested in the island mysteries. I think that puts us, in his camp. At least
Yeah.
those of us who care about the mysteries. The one character who's actually like interested in them. I think there's a natural sympathy there.
Yeah, for sure.
He wants to know a lot of the same answers we do. But yeah, because of his destructive personality, and yeah, like basically his story is Locke has this one problem, and he always has this problem, and it causes bad things to happen to him all the time. And so like that is a very frustrating thing for a character that you're supposed to root for.
Mm-hmm.
It puts you in an awkward position. And it is true that like even though he is manipulated by others and bad things are done to him that are default of others, they do take a lot of pains to show his own responsibility. For those bad, like he goes and he spills to his dad about the guy, and kind of gets the guy killed, even though he didn't do it. It's still like he could have, if he hadn't handled the situation that way, like that guy could have lived.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes to confront his dad, already thinking he might have committed a murder. and he gets pushed out a window, and he's like, well, how did that happen?
Yeah, he came to come and yell at the murderer for murder. And then he gets almost murdered.
Yeah, and it's like, well, if you really thought that he might have done that, you should know he's dangerous.
You should have called the cops and said, I think my dad just killed this guy, and why don't you guys handle it?
Yeah, exactly. But, like, he makes it personal, and he's still, like, kind of protecting him.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, it's pathetic. It's horrible. Mm-hmm. And it does seem like he kind of maintains that relationship, with the island, and that's sort of where the smoke monster steps in and takes that same role where like he feels this loyalty to this thing that's just using him and doesn't care about him at all. And so I think he's not. You're right. Because he doesn't know it. He doesn't fit into a normal villain like role.
Yeah.
But his actions, like you could play him differently and he would easily be a villain.
Yeah, that's what's kind of novel about this character when you view it this way is like he's got this top layer which is like, oh, Locke can't ever win, but this bottom layer where he's just really destructive and causing havoc for everybody, and you could give those traits to Ben and it would fit.
Yeah,
you expect
totally.
Ben to do all that stuff, but Ben doesn't pretend like he doesn't know who he is.
Right.
Or, not that Locke is pretending, but I mean he doesn't come across like he doesn't know who he is.
Ben definitely knows who he is.
Yeah,
he knows what he's doing.
And that would be my question for Carlton and Damon is like, did you guys write the world's first unknowing villain, like a villain who doesn't know he's a villain, or was this just an accident and you sloppily wrote a hero who just does bad things?
Yeah. It's a good question, and it's a fair question.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of what we just saw in Expose, where like Ben like lays out his like way of doing things so clearly, where he's like, I do what I always do. I found out what he's emotionally invested in, and I exploit it. And it's like he knows he's doing that. Whereas I feel like Locke's the kind of character who might do that too, but not even realize it.
And he's going to think he's doing it for some reason, for some good reason.
Some higher purpose.
Some higher purpose.
Not just to get what he wants.
Exactly, yeah. He's deluded about his own, actions, and I think that's a really strange quality to have for like an antagonist. To not really know why they're, what they're really doing.
I think that's another like big like tragic flaw of his character. Like he gets confused between what he wants and what like the universe wants.
Yes.
Like he can't tell the difference. And sort of if he doesn't like it, he's like, well, then this must not be destiny.
Yep.
And it's like that's just kind of a fallacy.
Destiny and fate are what validates his specialness. And
Yeah.
if it's not validating his specialness, it just doesn't
It
count.
just
I mean,
can't be.
yeah, it can't
Yeah.
be. I'm gonna blow it up.
Yeah.
And
Let's
also,
blow it
no
up.
one else can do it either. Like that's
Right.
the childish part of his
Very
personality, where it's
childish. Yeah.
like, okay,
It's
listen,
gotta be.
I don't like this toy, and I'm not gonna play with it. But also, no one else can play with it.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Exactly. And so, yeah, I mean, he he has his reasons, I guess, but yeah, it's definitely I think it puts his character and the audience in an awkward situation that we don't normally find ourselves, and it sort of feels like by making Smokey take Locke's appearance for the almost the last third of the show, it's kind of acknowledging what you're saying is correct.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I think that puts the nail on the head. That's like, okay, now we really will have the villain be Locke, and he will, sort of be the villain on all levels.
He will know he's the villain.
Yeah.
Now. And yeah, it's sort of like the only way Locke could figure out he was the villain is to die and have someone else pretend to be him.
And he's like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah. That's something like, I mean, not exactly that because that would be awkward, but that is something about the Flash Sideways that, like, I do feel like he never understood his role. He never understood like what was going on in his life, and he never got that. Like it felt like Jack had that kind of breakthrough about his own problems.
Yeah.
In the Flash Sideways, and I think Locke didn't get that.
Yeah, I almost feel like, maybe Locke was just supposed to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like his dad, but he kept fighting against it, and it didn't work. And he got so caught up in his dad's approval, but his dad's a bad guy, so why would you want a bad guy's approval unless you're a bad guy?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like he didn't know it. And I mean, I remember in season 6 a lot of people saying, and I think there's some plausibility to this, that, they wanted it to be Locke versus Jack. And, because, I mean, that thing at the end of season 1 where Jack's talking to Kate and he's like, I want to make sure you're with me because I think we're going to have a Locke problem.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's great. But there's the follow through on that is weak because the Locke problem is like they kind of bicker a lot. You know what I mean? I mean, the bickering sort of grows over time into more serious things, which I think the apotheosis of it is the beginning of season 4 when Jack tries to shoot him in the face.
Yeah, that's when they weren't friends anymore. Can I say this though? I think there's a version of this of Locke's storyline and of Lost that's kind of. I wish I could create this universe where it happened because I think it's pretty awesome. Which would be Locke lands in the plane crash. He can walk again, and then he basically everything they do on the show except Locke has a plan.
Right.
And he uses his newfound, walkability and the faith that comes with getting his legs restored, and basically, causes a rift between the Losties, and it is him versus Jack, and basically he splits off, kind of what they eventually do, where they split off between two groups, and then he ends up starting like a group like the others, and then eventually leading to him taking over the others, but then actually being the leader of the others for real.
Right.
And actually being a bad guy and actually being a person, like a Widmore or something.
Yeah.
He's kind of bad, but he's also got plans and he just wants to get his plan done. He doesn't want to murder necessarily just indiscriminately, but he's got a plan. And then at the end of the show, you get real Locke, who has cultivated this leader persona, leading the others versus Jack,
right?
Who's got the Losty. That could have been a really interesting way to play it, but that would have taken a Locke who's not delusional,
right? And they were really committed to that.
Yeah.
idea. I mean, the plot hinges on that like very deeply.
Yeah.
And it's hard to even imagine. I mean, they'd have to do really severe rewrites to take out that element. I mean, it kind of just that whole part of the story doesn't work anymore without that aspect of Locke's character.
Hmm.
But like people were saying that they wanted that, but I don't know exactly how it happened. And this is, definitely a question for Damon and Carlton. Like how exactly did they decide on, like, were they committed to certain things about Locke that they couldn't let go of, and they couldn't make Locke the bad guy, at least not like in the usual way, without letting go of these things.
Yeah.
Like they wanted to preserve somehow the idea that, you know, maybe he will succeed, or maybe
Hmm.
he's right, or maybe he's on some kind of path, that's leading to enlightenment or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Locke has so many fatal character flaws. It's like he doesn't know when to give up. He misplaces meaning. He wants approval from people he can't get it from. So yeah, I don't know what they could have altered because they seem like they want to have all these different elements. Because he's got to be gullible. I feel like his superpower is
Yeah,
being able to be manipulated by other people.
right. And like that's inherently, that he can't be a
Yeah,
normal villain like that.
exactly.
Normal villains aren't like that's a person you feel sorry for.
Yeah.
And that's how they played him. Like they sort of played him as pathetic, and you
Yeah,
should.
it's like in Winnie the Pooh, but Eeyore come like they're having a picnic, everyone's having fun,
It all goes
and
back to Winnie
then
the Pooh.
yeah, I'll just make to Winnie the Pooh because Locke is Eeyore, and Locke comes in. I mean Eeyore comes in, and he like sits on the honey pot and ruins
Hmm.
the picnic, and like
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, did I do something wrong? And everyone's like, Locke, Eeyore. And I feel like it's like that where like he's ruining things by trying to help or something.
Right.
Like it's just this really weird quality that they were strangely consistent about, which is really odd because it's a strange way to write a character.
Yeah. 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 Like I think probably the thing that's the most villainous about him is that there is a selfishness
Yeah.
that's at the root of a lot of his problems. And so like him pursuing these secrets, they are for selfish reasons. It's not clear that he cares much about the other people,
Yeah.
in terms of like them pursuing what they want, or like him finding out these secrets is going to help them in any way. Like it's all
Hmm.
about him.
Yeah, and there was never a moment where he shared a secret and it backfired. So he goes, okay, I'm never telling anybody anything again. It was
Yeah.
just like from the beginning, he wanted it all to himself. Like he didn't want to share what was going on unless he needed somebody's help.
And that reminds me of something from Airmail, which is that when they are talking to Mikhail in the jungle, and he's about to say that Locke's paralyzed, before they're interrupted. Um, that made me remember that most of the characters in the show never learn
Yeah,
that he was paralyzed before he crashed on the island.
yeah.
The others know because they did research. Rose knows because she saw him.
Hmm.
He tells Boone before he dies,
Yeah.
but Jack, I think, never knows.
Yeah, and
For
I feel like that's
example.
such a huge thing, and it's like, and that could have been a way for Locke to garner support in the beginning if he was like, listen, everybody,
Yeah,
I was in a wheelchair and I'm not, so this island is special.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's strange how he keeps it to himself. Like I feel like it kind of shows his selfishness. Like he doesn't want to share with anyone.
Well, and I think part of not telling the wheelchair in the beginning is not only the selfishness, but it's also you know, he wants the opportunity to not be seen like that.
Right, right.
And he wants to be the hunter hero guy, and he's like, oh, okay, I don't want anybody to have sympathy for
Mm-hmm.
me. I want them to respect me, so I'm just
Right.
gonna launch into
Oh, definitely.
this whole thing.
But that's kind of selfish in a way too.
Yeah,
You know, like all about how other people see him and this thing that he wants to be. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Not like information that might be helpful for them to know at
yeah,
some point. You know?
yeah. You know, he's a strange character. Yeah, I wonder. I'd love to ask Carlton Damon about his where he is on the villain scale, and if they realize how he comes off, or like how much of that was purposeful, how much of that was an accident,
Hmm.
or would they go, "What? He's a villain? Oh, wow, didn't know." But you're right.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I do feel like something about the the way that arc is extremely dissatisfying is because of that tension.
Yeah,
Like I think you can trace it back to that because there's those natural tendencies that you want stories to fulfill, and this is kind of fighting against those.
yeah. I mean, I wonder if that's why Ben gets to kill him because
Yeah,
it's because he did so much bad things to people over the course of the show.
yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly. It's almost like he earned it or something, you know?
Hmm.
I mean, even him going to get them to come back was like,
Yeah,
had more than a tinge of selfishness about it,
yeah.
and so it's strange. Uh, they you still sympathize with him, even though like if you step back, it does seem like he's a surprisingly uh, antagonistic character for the show,
Yeah.
which is weird. Whereas I think because Ben starts off knowing what he is, he
Hmm.
has a place to go from there,
Yeah.
and so he's able to, uh, have an arc going in the opposite direction, and it works, and it feels sort of right,
Hmm.
because like, you can go either way. I mean, you can have a good guy turn bad, or you can have a bad guy turn good, but you can't just have like a good guy who's actually a bad guy and doesn't know it and never realizes that. You
Yeah,
know?
that's not one of the main storylines people generally write. Does the guy who doesn't know he's a bad guy and never figures it out?
Yeah, it's weird. Like it's a very strange arc. And yeah, there would be a great question to ask. I do feel like I don't know if it's conscious or unconscious. I want to say on some level they knew,
Hmm.
because I feel like the show's telling me that
Well, I
at
guess
several
it's more
points.
about how would they characterize it, right?
Yeah,
They know what he's doing and why they're having him do it, but would they characterize it as, oh, he's just a selfish guy, or he's the loser, or would they say, oh, well, no, he fits as an antagonist, he's a villain,
yeah,
the hidden villain of the show.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I sort of feel like having him be the face of evil for the
Yeah.
for the last third of the season like suggests that they knew
Hmm.
on some level, And the fact that he carries out the first part of his plan pretending to be Locke believably,
Yeah.
you know? And so like we the thing that's actually like evil incarnate carrying out his evil diabolical plot that may end with the world ending seems like it actually could be Locke.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
And I think it suggests that there is something villainous about Locke and that they knew it.
Hmm.
Either like directly or on some subconscious level,
Yeah.
you know? It seems like it's there, but it would be interesting to see what they would say
But I mean,
specifically.
Locke went with him in the church at the end, right? It's
Right?
like so
True.
on some level he's not.
Redeemed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like he should have gotten Ben's ending,
Mm.
where he's like, I'm not ready to move on yet, because I feel like he hadn't figured anything out.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. He should have that. That's why that scene is so unsatisfying. It's like,
And I think that would have, I mean, it would have been in line with all the other horrible things that happened to his character.
yeah,
You know, like if he doesn't get to move on with the whole group, like that would be fitting.
yeah,
Because they crapped on him the whole show anyway.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it would be
totally.
great because it would be like, hey, well, at least he gets a eternity to figure himself
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Yeah, in a way that would be better. In a
Yeah.
way, like it kind of feels like this is them, like him still not,
Yeah.
to the bitter end, still not
Yeah.
understanding himself.
Yeah, exactly. He's smiling like, oh, we're all heroes.
Yeah,
No, you didn't get it, dude. You didn't get why your life was so difficult because you were playing the wrong role.
yeah. Like, oh man, the good times we had and all those great things I did for you people. Like, oh
Mm.
man, you guys love me, don't you?
Yeah, that's what he's thinking.
It is, and it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird when you think about what actually happened.
Yeah. Remember when all those people said no to your face when you begged and pleaded for them
Yeah.
to do you one favor and they were like, "Who are you?" What?
Yeah, it's
Get out
like
of here.
he's like the elephant in the room. Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't fit, Like what's going on?
Is that why the elephant in the room is a thing? Because it doesn't fit?
Yeah, isn't
Or
it?
is it? I thought it was a thing because it stands out.
Well, it stands out because it doesn't fit, right?
Well, I just thought it stood out because it's an elephant in the room.
Well, yeah, but elephant
Like,
doesn't
isn't
fit.
it elephant in the room even if the room is huge and the elephant does fit?
Oh, well, sure. Yeah. But I mean, usually the rooms are smaller. I don't know what kind of rooms you stay in, but usually, usually the rooms I'm in.
I stay in elephant-sized rooms, of course, where there's just enough room for one elephant and me. No, just the way you phrased that, I never thought the elephant in the room is a thing because it doesn't fit. I just thought,
Yeah.
yeah, it's big, but it stands out because it's big, not because
Yeah.
it doesn't fit. But it doesn't fit because it's big. So,
Well, I mean, I didn't totally mean that. It's also like it doesn't belong.
yes,
I mean, it doesn't fit in that sense.
Sure.
Not
Oh, yeah,
necessarily
yeah.
the size. You know what I mean? Like it can be metaphorical. I don't know. I'm not sure what I meant, but
No, it worked. Yeah.
I'm a little like Locke. I don't even know what I'm talking about most of the time.
I'm just blowing stuff up and throwing knives at people.
Yeah. What do you want from me?
Yeah, I kind of wish there was something to suggest that that Locke should have been a bad guy, like his dad, or saying something like,
Yeah.
Your Locke, your problem is you don't really know who you are.
Yeah.
Or,
You're just like me and you don't realize it, or like there's some kind of thing like that. I
Yeah.
can see that, or Ben, or like because Ben had that thing with Saeed, like where it was something
Mhm.
along those lines,
Yeah.
But I think Saeed knew it, and so once again, like it kind of makes sense.
Mhm.
Unlike the Locke story. Yeah, you're right. They didn't write that in. It's just left open.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep this idea in mind as we continue the rewatch and track the villainous storyline of old Locke.
It's really starting to take shape now in season 3.
Yeah.
I think the earlier stuff is just a prelude to what's about to take place.
He's just getting started.
Yeah.
That Locke problem Jack mentioned is heating up.
Yeah, like I guess it does become a thing. It's just like him saying it at the end of season 1 is a bit premature.
Mm-hmm.
The real Locke problem is like way later.
Yeah. Took some time to boil to the surface.
Yeah, exactly. It seemed a lot smaller back then. They didn't realize like how dangerous he really was. Like it doesn't seem like someone who's so inept and gullible could like cause that much damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's his magic power.
It is. It totally is.
All right. Until next time, thanks and namaste.
All right, namaste and good luck.